Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Mode Bespoke. I'm Atenas. For today's tutorial, we're going to be working on a scarf. So this is a bicolored scarf, so it's green and it's white. So this back part is this big old long green back part, and then it turns into a white scarf. For this scarf, I used a lot of my leftover yarn. So I didn't use one specific skein or anything like that. So what you're going to need is anywhere between 350 to about 400 yards. So that's about 1 to 2 skeins of a size 4 or a medium yarn to be able to make this adult scarf. So the measurements for this scarf is across, so it's 7 inches wide or approximately 18 centimeters. And it's 62 inches long, so it's about 157 centimeters around there. So this is for adults. I used the leftover cotton yarn I had from my centerpiece video that I made a couple of weeks back. So it's this cotton yarn. I should probably grab the green so that I don't blind you with the brightness from the window. So it's this one. If you use, and this is the size 4, but I have a size 4, and this is the synthetic yarn. So, I don't know if you can see it now, I'll need the white. So there we go. So they're both the same size, but this yellow one is a little bit thicker, even though they're both size 4. So synthetic yarn is going to be slightly fluffier than this cotton yarn. So if you use something like the comfy cotton that I used for last week's tutorial, you'll probably need about 2 skeins, because I think it's just under 300 yards, I think. So you'll probably need 2 skeins of that. As far as the hook, it depends on what look you want. So because this cotton isn't a fluffy yarn, it's very straight, it's kind of a thick yarn. I started with an H hook, and I didn't like the way it looked. So my stitches, instead of looking this tightly knit, were pretty separated. So I started with an H hook, and then I dropped down to a G hook. So this is 5mm, and then I went to 4.25, and I finally ended up working with an F hook. So then when I make the list of the materials, it's an F hook because it gave me a really nice tight stitches, which is what I wanted for this scarf. So you're welcome to try with anything you want. It depends on the yarn that you use and the look that you want for your scarf. So like I said, if you're going to be using a synthetic yarn, you could start with a 5mm, so that's an H hook, and then just work your way down if you don't like the way it looks. But yeah, so a little more about this pattern. This is the same pattern I used for a scarf a couple of videos ago. I had a lot of questions on the tutorial, and it seems I moved a little bit quickly for a couple of beginners who are interested in crocheting that. So I'm remaking that same pattern, but I'm using 2 different colors so that you can see how to do a color change in case you want to use multiple colors for your scarf. I've also slowed it down and zoomed in a lot. So I'll put the link for the other video here, that way you can see it's this video. So this is the original video I posted a couple months ago. If you want to watch it, I will leave a link in the description box below. So that's the video I've remade with a different yarn. So hopefully if you're a beginner, you'll be able to follow along a little bit better, and you'll be able to make this scarf. But if you have any questions or anything, just let me know, and I will just forward you over to the materials list, and let's get started. The materials I'll be using is 2 skeins of a size 4 cotton yarn. I'm using olive and white. I'll also be using a size F hook, which is a 3.75mm hook. And I will be using a pair of scissors because I'm going to be switching colors, a tapestry needle, and a measuring tape. You can also use a yarn needle if you prefer. So to begin, I'm just going to start with the green, and I'm going to make a slip knot. So I'll grab my hook, and I'm just going to start with wrapping the yarn around 2 fingers. I'm going to pinch the bottom, insert my hook into the loop, pull some yarn through, and then I'm going to tighten the knot by pulling the 2 strands of yarn that I have left. So I'm going to grab the working yarn and wrap it around my index finger and pinch the bottom part of the knot. So to wrap the yarn, you just lay it over your 3 bottom fingers, over your index finger, and you're ready to go. That way you can pinch the knot with your middle finger and your thumb. So pinch the knot at the bottom, and we're just going to make a chain. So I will just yarn over and pull it through the loop that I have on my hook, and that's 1 chain, and then yarn over and pull through the loop. That's a 2nd chain. We'll do it one more time. Yarn over and pull through the loop. So with the size yarn and the size hook I'm using, I'm going to make a chain that is 31 stitches. That will make for a 7-inch scarf, and it's going to be 7 inches across. I'll show you here in just a moment how long this chain ended up being after I made my 31 stitches. If you make it any other length, you can make it as wide as you want. Just be sure that you end in an odd number. So this chain at its 31 stitches was 8 inches long, and my scarf, my end result, was 7 inches across, so it will shrink about 1 inch. So moving on to our first row, we're going to just pinch this last stitch and we're going to chain 2. Our first row is going to be a row of double crochets, so you're going to make a double crochet in each stitch of your chain. So beginning on the 3rd stitch, which is this guy right here, so the 3rd stitch from your chain, we're going to make our first double crochet. So to make a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to insert your hook into that 3rd stitch. So insert my hook into the stitch, and we're going to yarn over again, and we're going to remove our hook from the stitch. So pull back out through the stitch. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And then we have 2 loops left, so we yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And that is how you make a double crochet. So I'll show you one more time. In this 2nd stitch, the one right next to the one that we just finished working in, we're going to make another double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull your hook back out of the stitch. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And there's our 2nd double crochet. Going into the 3rd stitch, we are going to do the same. So I'm just going to get a little bit closer here in case you need to see that. So here's our next double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull it through the stitch, and now we have our 3 loops, and we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So there we go. That is how you make a double crochet, and you will need to make 1 double crochet in every stitch of this chain until you get to the last stitch. So I've got to the very last stitch of my first row, so here's the last chain. We're just going to make another double crochet. So I'll finish this up, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and our first row is done. Moving on to our 2nd row, which is where we're going to start to create the pattern, we're going to chain 2. So at the beginning of every row, you chain 2, and then you're going to turn your work around. So we're going to be working into the posts. So these top guys are your stitches, and we're not going to be working into these for this pattern. We're going to be working down here, which are the posts. So you're going to skip this first one right here, and we're going to go into the 2nd one. So you're going to go behind the post, pull it forward, and then the next post, you're going to go in front of the post and push it backward. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to do 2. I lied to you. So it's 2 posts, and then it's every 2 posts. So 2 posts to the front, 2 posts back, 2 posts forward, 2 posts back. So we're going to be alternating every 2 posts. So let me just get my hook back and ready to go, and let's begin. So with our first post, which is this guy right here, we're going to insert our hook behind it, and we're going to make a double crochet. So you're going to need to yarn over like you do with a double crochet. Insert your hook behind the post and push the post forward. So here, if I pull this apart, you're going to go right here in this space next to the post on either side. So go in behind the post and then push it forward. So here's a little post. And now we're just going to close our double crochet. So yarn over. You're going to pull your hook back out from behind the stitch. There we go. So we've got our 3 loops, and you're just going to close your stitch. So yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. There you go. I lost my stitch. All right. Moving on to the next post, which is this guy, right next to the one that we worked into. We're going to do the same. So yarn over, and you're coming in behind the post and pushing it forward. So there's our post. We're going to yarn over. We're going to back out of the stitch again. We've got our 3 loops on our hook. Now we're just going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there's our first pair of posts that we worked in the front, and our next pair we're going to push back. So to do that, we're going to yarn over, and we're going to come in front of the post this time. So insert your hook from the back of your work, or through the back of your work, I should say, in front of the post, and you're going to push the post backward. So there's our post on our hook, and now we just have to, see, it's in front of our post. Now we just have to yarn over, back out of our stitch. We've got our 3 loops on our hook, and we yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we're going to go to the second post of our pair, and we're going to do the same. So yarn over, come in through the front of the post, and now we're going to push it back. And now we yarn over and go back through our stitch. We've got our 3 loops, so we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So the rest of this row is going to go very much the same way. So you do your 2 front posts, which is what we're going to be working now, and then we do 2 back posts. So we yarn over, and we're going to push our post forward, and then we back out of the post. After we yarn over again, we've got our 3 loops, and we yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2 to complete our first front post double crochet of the pair. So now we're going to go into the second post and make another front post double crochet. So we yarn over, move in behind the post and push it forward, yarn over and pull back out of our stitch, and now we close our stitch by yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, and then we yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So those were 2 front post double crochets. Now we're going to work 2 back post double crochets. So we yarn over, and we're going to move in towards the front of our post and push it backward. There we go. And then we yarn over. We'll pull back out of our stitch. We've got our 3 loops on our hook, so we yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now we'll make 1 more back post double crochet. So we yarn over, and we're going to go behind that post. So we come in from behind the post, or sorry, from behind towards the front of the post and push it backward. So now we finish our stitch with a yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. So we're just going to repeat this over and over. So we're going to make 2 front post double crochets followed by 2 back post double crochets. So these next 2 posts we're going to work as front post double crochets, then the 2 after that are back post double crochets, then front post double crochet, back post double crochet, and so forth until we get to the end of the row. So we've made it to the end of the row, and we have 2 posts left. We have a little space here next to the last post. We're going to be working into that as well. But for now, I just have to finish my 2 front posts. So these last 2 posts of the row are going to be my front post double crochets. So I'll work those really quickly. So there's 1 and 2. And now we have to finish the row with a double crochet. And that little space I showed you right next to the post, there we go. So that is the chain 2 that we made before we started working our row. We need to make a double crochet into this space right here at the end of every row. So don't skip this one or your scarf is going to not be a perfectly even scarf. So just yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, and yarn over again. We've got our 3 loops, and then just close up your stitch with yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And our first row of alternating posts is done. So to begin our row, like we're going to do every row, you make 2 chains, so chain 2, turn your work around, and this is what your pattern is going to look like from here on out. So these first 2 posts are back posts. You can tell because of this little middle part right here. We're going to work this top part. So every time you see one of those, you're going to work in the top part. These 2 next to them are front posts. See, if you turn it around, they reverse. So these are front posts, and they turn into back posts if you turn your work around. But we're going to be working on this front part and the top part of the stitch. So we're going to make these that are back posts, they're going to become front post. And the ones next to it that were front post, we're going to turn into back post double crochets. So we're going to reverse everything. So if it's a front post double crochet, turn it into a back post double crochet, and vice versa. This is going to create that woven textured look that kind of looks like a basket. That's the look we're going to be making for this scarf. So working with these 2 first posts, we're going to turn them into front post double crochets. So go in behind the first post, and remember to work on this top part. So go behind the post and pull it forward. And now we just finish our stitch by yarning over, pulling back out of the stitch. We've got our 3 loops, and we're going to close our double crochet. So going into the next post, which was also a back post, we're going to pull it forward and turn it into a front post double crochet. So yarn over, go in behind the post and push it forward, and just complete your double crochet. So these guys, next to the work we just did, are front post double crochets. See, they're laying up in front of that chain. Now we have to pull them back. So we're going to come in towards the front of the post and push it backward. So now we are turning them into back post double crochets. So we're going to close out our double crochet and move on to the next post, which is this guy. It's also a front post, so we need to turn it into a back post double crochet. So yarn over, come in front of the hook and in front of the post, and push it backward. So now we've got our 3 loops, and we're just going to close our double crochet. The next pair of posts, as you can see, are back posts. They've got this little chain in front, so we have to pull them forward and turn them into front post double crochets. So we're going to work in behind the post and pull it forward, and just complete our double crochet. We're going to do the same thing in the post right next to it, which is also a back post. So we're going to yarn over, come in behind the post and pull it forward, and turn that into a front post double crochet. So I'll just finish off my double crochet here and move on to the next pair. These are front post double crochets, as you can see, so we have to pull them back and turn them into back post double crochets. So come in towards the front of the post and push it backward, and just complete your double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so the one next to it is also a front post, so we have to turn it into a back post double crochet. So come in to the front of the post, push it backward, yarn over, and just finish your double crochet. So there we go. So now we are reversing our posts to create our lovely texture. We're going to do the same with the remaining posts of the row. So if it's a back post like this one, pull it forward. If it's a front post, you're going to push it backward. If it's a back post, you pull it forward. If it's a front post, you push it backward. And just keep working this way until you get to the last stitch of the row. And we are back at the end of the row again. As you can see, my row finishes with 2 back post double crochets, so I need to turn them into front post double crochets. And then here's that chain space. And I'm showing it to you now because it's going to become a little difficult to show you on camera here in a minute once I make my front post double crochets. So I'll go ahead and make those. So every time you end a row, you will always start, if you did the same number of chains as I did, you will always end with your back post double crochets, so you will always have to make front post double crochets at the end of the row. And now at this last chain space, we're just going to make a double crochet. There we go. So yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And we are done with our other row. So this is the row that you're going to be repeating over and over again. So we'll do another one. So we will chain 2, turn your work around, and this is the same repetition you're going to make over and over. So see, these are back posts and these are front posts. We're just going to do the exact same thing we did in the previous row. So yarn over, make these first 2 back posts. We're going to turn them into front post double crochets. So here's my first one, and then I'll work my second front post double crochet. And now the pair next to it are front post double crochets, as you can see. So we have to make them back post double crochets. So we're going to crochet 2 back post double crochets. If I started moving too fast, go back to when we first started making this stitch, which is the previous row, and work through it until you get really comfortable with it. See, so these next 2 posts, we're going to make them front post double crochets. And another front post double crochet. And then the last one I'm going to do here with you, these are front posts, so we turn them into back posts. So we're pushing them back and making back post double crochets. So there we go. So just keep working this same pattern over and over again until you get to the desired length you want for your scarf. Now scarves, there are a couple of you can find different measurements. I'll put some measurements down in the description box below so that you kind of have a general idea of how long you can make your scarf. There is a rule of thumb, so if you know who the scarf is going to be going to, or it's a scarf for yourself, some folks suggest that you make the scarf as long as you are tall, and that's if you want a nice long scarf. I usually make mine about 62 inches if they're for adults. If it's for a really tall man, I'll work a little bit, a couple more inches, up to 72 inches. So that just depends. So just keep working this pattern over and over. So these guys become front posts, these guys become back posts, these guys become front posts, and just keep working until you finish your scarf. And I'll show you how to finish the row one more time. So I've got to my last 2 posts again, and as you can see, they are back posts. So they're always going to be back posts. So now we have to turn them into front post double crochets. So pull them forward and turn them into a front post double crochet. And then we're going to have to make our double crochet at the end of the row, which is this little chain space right over here. Don't forget this last double crochet. Otherwise you will lose your stitch count and you will end up with a very narrow scarf at the end. So it'll be very wide at the beginning and very narrow at the end. So we're just going to keep working on this. And just to show you how much it has changed in width since we've begun our stitching, because at the beginning of the video I told you it was a 7-inch scarf, and then I told you that the chain was going to be 8 inches, and that is because it shrinks. So now that we have crocheted a couple of rows, you will be able to tell the difference. So now we are at 7 inches. So it will shrink about an inch. So just make sure that if you make a wider scarf, add an extra inch to the width that you want your scarf to be. So if you want your scarf to be 9 inches, crochet a 10-inch chain. Make sure that you end it in an odd number. So I'm just going to keep working a couple more inches of this, and then I'm going to switch colors, and I will show you how to do that. So I've worked several more rows in green, and I decided it's time to switch to white. So here's my white yarn, and this is the last stitch. I will back up a bit so that we're all on the same page. So that's just the last double crochet. So here, I'll make it over again so you can see. So here's my chain space. I'm just going to make that last double crochet of the row. So yarn over, insert my hook, pull back through the stitch, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's our double crochet. I'm not chaining 2. I'm just going to keep my hook in my work, and I'm going to leave a long tail of this white yarn so that I can weave it in later. So pull your hook with your white yarn through the loop that you had on your hook. Just give that a nice bit of a tug there. Now we're going to make our chain 2. So our first chain is going to have the 2 threads of yarn. So pull through with both threads, and your second chain, we're going to remove that extra piece of yarn and just work with your working yarn and make another chain. And by working yarn, I mean the yarn that's attached to the skein. So give it a little tug here with the green. Make sure you tighten everything up. So tighten the white, tighten the green, or whatever colors you're using. And we're going to cut the green thread so that way we don't get all tangled up. Leave a nice long tail so that you can weave it in later and keep your work from unraveling. If you make a really short tail and you don't knot it up properly, your scarf will fall apart. So to avoid that, leave a nice long tail, and I'll show you how to weave them in at the end of the video. Alright, so we've got our chain 2, and that's what we made at the beginning of the row. Remember how we always start with a chain 2? That's what we did just now when we switched colors, and we're going to start it over again. So we're just going to start with our front post double crochets. So behind my post to pull it forward, and we just close our double crochet. And our next stitch, like it has been for all of our rows, is also a front post double crochet. So I'll go ahead and make that and close up my stitch. Go to the next one, which is a front post right here. So we're going to make back post double crochets. So we're going to pull them back and close out our stitch. Then we're going to yarn over again after I get some more yarn. Alright, so we're going to yarn over again and pull this double crochet back. So we're turning it into a back post double crochet. And we're just going to close up our stitch. And the next one is a front post, so I'll keep working that. So just keep working the pattern the same way that you were working it when you were working in your initial color, which for me was the green. And if you're going to switch colors, just watch that part of the video over again, because that's how you switch colors every time. I found that it keeps my colors even if I make my chains, and that's where I change my color. And I always do my first chain, so since this one has 2, I always do my first chain with both threads and the second chain just with the thread I'm going to be working with. So just keep crocheting the white as long as you want. Switch back to green if you choose to. And there we go. So after I've made all of my scarf, I have to show you how to weave in your ends, because you're going to have to weave in all the ends after you've switched colors so many times. So here is my tapestry needle. You can use a yarn needle if you prefer, so just go through and thread it. And anytime I weave in ends, I generally tend to do it in the same way. So I'm going to start with just making a quick knot. So this yarn is pretty thick, so I'm not going to make a double knot. A lot of the times I knot it twice, but this time I'm just going to knot it once. And then just insert my needle into one of the stitches, and I'm going to work in a bit of a square shape. So just kind of stitch in one direction and then switch directions and then switch directions again. And just keep going, switching directions every couple of stitches so that you can keep your thread from unraveling whenever you wash your item. And then this last bit of thread over here, oh, got out. So that last bit, I'm just going to hide it. So I'm just going to insert my needle into the stitch that I just wanted to go into. and just make a very long stitch. So I'm just going to keep inserting my needle. There we go. And I'm going to push the back end out a little bit so I can rethread it. Let me see how I can do this easily because I've got my tripod right in front of my face. All right, there we go. And I'll just pull my needle through. Yarn and all. There we go. So this little tail end is going to be hidden when we give it a little tug. So just go through, weave in all your ends, and you are done. If you have any questions or any comments, be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel to get more video tutorials like these. I post every Thursday. Give the video a thumbs up. It makes me feel super special when you do, and it makes me feel like you like my work. If you want to see any more of my work, I do have an Instagram page. It is @mode.bespoke. For the free written patterns, I do have a blog. I will link it in the description below, but that is modebespoke.blogspot.com. Thank you for watching and have a good day. See you guys next Thursday.